The Mini 5 Pro is the most advanced DJI lightweight drone. In all the tests I've done for footage and photography, the results have always been astonishing, thanks to its larger CMOS sensor and other interesting new features. In this video I will show you how to get the best results for footage taken in low light conditions. I often see tests of the camera's low light capabilities taken in urban settings at night. Even though night cityscapes can often be spectacular, they don't say much about low light capabilities, since the shadows will always be black, regardless of the camera employed. The best moment for low light tests is the blue hour, more or less an hour after sunset, depending on the latitude, when artificial lights are already on, but there is still a hint of natural light. I prefer to have artificial lights alongside unlit areas containing vegetation or other elements. The shadows will be very dark, but can be recovered according to the capability of the camera used. When shooting footage or photos in low light, I suggest turning on the LED in the Safety tab of the settings. It helps keep track of the aircraft and facilitates the return to home. When shooting footage, I always use manual exposure. However, with Mini 5 Pro in low light, it might be worth using auto or semi-auto exposure, as we will see later on. The main advantage of manual exposure is that we can control the ISO and shutter speed values. Following the 180-degree rule, the recommended shutter speed is 1/50th of a second at 25 frames per second and 1/60th of a second at 30 frames per second. In low light situation, we can reduce the shutter speed to 125 or 130 to gain one additional stop of light. For ISO, we try to use the lowest values to avoid noise and other artifacts. Let's start with ISO 100 and shutter speed at 1/50th. As you can see, the footage is underexposed by a couple of shots. We can improve it while editing, but we can do much better with different exposure values. Now we bring the shutter speed to 1/25, maintaining the ISO at 100, thus adding an extra stop or exposure. It is an improvement over the previous one, but the clip is still underexposed. We need to raise the ISO. Let's now try ISO 400 and ISO 800 with a shutter speed of 1/50. In both cases, the Mini 5 Pro handles the high values very well. There is no hint of noise or other artifacts. The colors are rich with a good dose of contrast. During the blue hour, the luminosity decreases very quickly. In most cases, we can optimize the exposure with an ISO value between 200 and 800 and a shutter speed of 1/50 or 1/25. When using auto or semi-auto exposure, according to DJI, the Mini 5 Pro records footage at two different exposure values and blends them to achieve up to 14 stops of dynamic range, which is especially useful in high dynamic range and low light situations. It works similar to HDR photos, with highlights taken from the lowest exposure and shadows from the highest. Beginners can simply set the exposure to auto to benefit from this feature. However, there is a better method that allows us to control the shutter speed value. We can select manual exposure and then, in the exposure window, tap on the ISO icon. We can now specify the desired SS value, while the program will compute the optimal ISO. This method is very simple to use and delivers excellent results. maintaining plenty of detail in the shadows. The only downside is that some annoying shift in brightness may appear when the light intensity varies. For this reason, it is suggested to maintain the same flag direction during each move. And avoid wide tilts of the gimbal. So far, I've only shown footage taken in normal mode, and I found the results excellent. So, what is the point of using other color profiles? The advantage of the log M is that it contains more information and responds very well to color grading. It is the one to use to adapt a clip to the color scheme of a project, or to create a specific mood. A good dose of post-processing is needed, so it is aimed at advanced users. In most situations, I don't suggest using HLG, as it requires a complex post-production with a specific color space. However, in low light, it can at times produce excellent results, even with very little editing. It is often worth trying it. Another major feature of the Mini 5 Pro is the 48mm Tele mode, offering a 2x zoom with better quality than the digital zoom of previous models. Using this mode, we can get closer to targets that cannot otherwise be reached, increase the parallax effect when several layers are present in an image, and obtain better separation between a target and the background. As you can see, the results obtained in low light are superior to zooming digitally. Sadly, the Tele mode can only be used with a frame rate of 30 frames per second. Since I encode all my footage in 24, the Tele mode will show some stuttering. I hope a choice of frame rate will be added by a firmware update. Click on this link to watch my video about photography with the Mini 5 Pro. And don't forget to hit the like button if you find this video interesting. Thank you.